Hey guys, Jeff here. Thanks for coming back to my channel and thanks for tuning in to my Zoom console playlist. This is a pretty cool episode. The couple that I'm consulting with, they're raising a new puppy, so we're talking all things puppy. I addressed their questions. We jumped around on various topics as it relates to puppy rearing. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hey, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and take a peek around my channel as well. If you like what you see, consider subscribing. Don't forget, click that bell so you get notified when I upload new content as well.
Say hi. Okay.
What's his name?
Max.
Max. And how old is he?
He's 5 months this week.
Okay. All right. So usually with these puppy things, we kind of jump around. So
Okay.
I'm really easy, and it's really an individual thing because what some puppy owners face and experience and define as challenges, other people don't. So why don't we start out with some things that you would like to address, and then we'll kind of expand from there.
Okay. We got a list.
Yeah, perfect. Lists are great. I love lists.
Okay.
So with his collar, his leash is only about 4 foot long. So what kind of what size should I be going for? It's a regular traditional leash.
Okay, so I prefer, I think I have one right here. This is just for me. I prefer a 5/8 inch 6 foot leash.
That's what we got.
You probably have this, but the 4 foot version.
Okay.
Yeah, they come in 4 foot and 6 foot.
Okay.
I like thinner leashes just because that's my preference. So if you're okay with the thinner leash, I prefer a thinner leash because it's lighter on the dog. So it's it's not as heavy, especially for a puppy. It's a little easier for them to acclimate to it generally.
Okay.
But you guys as handlers, your comfort is important too, because if you're not comfortable using the leash, you'll get comfortable using it, but you want to use something that you're comfortable with that's not too heavy or bulky for a pup.
Okay. So we were using a really skinny leash.
Okay.
And I felt like we weren't getting enough. I wasn't getting enough control with him.
Okay.
So tonight when we walked him, we used my husky's old leash, but that seemed to be very heavy.
Okay.
It was a little thick for him.
Okay.
So I guess I need to find something in between.
Yeah, I mean, 5 months old, he's a corgi, right? So, I mean, they're tough little dogs, so it's probably more your comfort level than being bulky for him.
Okay.
Just from an energy standpoint, if you're uncomfortable with the leash and you're trying to emit this confidence when you're walking him, it's not going to happen because you're going to be like, this fucking thing. So your comfort level is a component of leash walking etiquette. So
Okay.
yeah. So you guys might have 2 different leashes based on your individual preferences, which is fine. Ultimately, I would say right now, find something, like you said, in the middle that you both can work with for now, just so the pup gets used to it.
Okay.
Okay.
And when I first started walking him, he used to walk behind us and try and hurt us. Now he's like in front of us, which I find is better because at least I'm not tripping over him. So in the beginning I was tripping over him, but now he's pulling us. So
yeah, and that's pretty common, especially with puppies. A lot of times when they lack confidence, they're going to lag behind a little bit. Obviously, the herding could certainly come into play. It was probably more of a confidence thing than anything else.
okay.
But as he goes on each walk, he's going to build confidence, get comfortable in the environment, and then he's going to start being a dog and a puppy, which they're going to be out in front exploring and pulling. So as long as it's not too stressful on his neck. If that's the case, then you might need to switch to a harness right now.
Okay.
But one thing about walking is, does he know at least a sit command or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he knows sit.
Okay, so
but I think he needs to sit on command, like when we're out walking. I tried, and I couldn't get him to just stop and sit. But I can get him to sit in the house.
We're not there yet, right?
Okay, so did you offer him treats when you were walking him?
No.
You gotta bring treats, because remember, the fact that he'll sit in your kitchen does not mean that he will sit outside on a walk.
Okay.
Okay, it doesn't mean he doesn't know sit. It just means that the environment outside is way too much for him to focus on you. So with puppies, the best way to get their attention, obviously, is food. Okay. The same rule applies when you're using treats. A regular crunchy dog biscuit may get him to sit for you in the kitchen. Outside on a walk, you may need like little chopped up hot dogs. You need to increase the value of the treat or the food resource to get him to perform. You know, because he's going to be all scent, sight, and sound. You know, and sound.
Yeah.
Right. He's surveying. He's, you know, until you get to the point where he's reliable walking, you need to increase the food value to get his attention on you, so he will sit when you say sit.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And remember, you know,
Different treat or something like that.
It's
to
a higher value, you know,
Yeah.
treat.
yeah,
Okay.
the
Like you
food
said.
value has to be higher than whatever's distracting him.
Okay.
Okay.
So he chases every leaf, every plastic, anything. He picks up everything.
Yeah, puppies. Let me tell you, I'm doing this a long time. I wouldn't get a puppy.
Well, it's been a long time for me too, but I didn't know what I was getting into. I forgot.
Yeah, you know what though? I mean, it's fun raising puppies, but it could be frustrating too. So all the frustration that you're probably going through, the peaks and valleys, it's normal. It's not unique to you. It's just that when you're in it, you're like, son of a bitch.
Yep.
Yeah. He chewed my kitchen table. He's chewing up the floor. And,
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's, well, let's remind me of the chewing. Let me just finish up with the leash walking. So, just to point out, like, you know, when you taught him to sit, right, it took a bunch of repetitions, right, before he got it.
Yep.
Well, when you're outside, every time you tell him to sit and he doesn't, that's also repetition of behavior. So
Okay.
the repetition of him not sitting can be detrimental, working him outside in distractions. That's why food, you know, increasing the food value is important. He has to sit.
Okay.
Okay. So, you know, what, all the little things you did inside to teach him to sit and to come, like you want to have like little mini training sessions in the front of your house too. Doesn't have to be down the block or 2 miles away. It could be outside right in the front of your house, because that is still a comfortable environment for him. It's still a little distracting, but it's not as distracting as a new neighborhood that you're walking through, right?
Yep.
So just keep in mind, you tell him to sit, he's got to sit. If you got to whip out a piece of jerky or a chopped up hot dog, do it, because you want him to be successful in that behavior.
So don't move on until he sits.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
He has two options. He can either sit or he could sit.
Okay.
Right.
You know,
You know, I mean, he's a corgi. They're friggin' smart. They're intelligent, but they, you know, they're driven too. They're very driven dogs. So if something catches his attention, it's going to be tough to get his attention. That's why we have to redirect him with something high value.
Okay.
Okay.
So back to the destruction. Sorry, see, I jump around. So
So do I.
I have to take notes. I'm old school. I still take notes because I don't want to miss something.
Okay.
Oh, incidentally, I'm recording this. You'll get a copy of it. So
Okay, great.
yeah. Okay. So chewing, destruction and chewing again is normal. The problem is if he did it and you didn't see it, that's a problem. Okay. It's a problem twofold. Number one, if you didn't see him, you can't correct him.
Right. Okay.
Right. If you didn't see him do it, it didn't happen. Right. Number two, more importantly, puppies, they're in pain when they're teething. They're in physical pain.
Mm-hmm.
So chewing helps alleviate pain. Right. So he's in pain. He chews the kitchen chair. Pain goes away. That behavior is rewarded. It will reproduce itself. So the golden rule of puppy rearing is if a puppy cannot be supervised, the puppy has to be crated.
Okay.
Period. Okay. Now, just so I cross my T's and dot my I's, the definition of supervision. I'm not sure if you watched. I did a little video on supervision. Did you see it?
Yep, I
Yep.
did.
Okay. So right now,
You didn't.
was that?
No, what that one? No.
No, you didn't watch that one.
Okay. All right. So Dominic, so right now I'm looking at you, Dominic, and so you're supervised because I'm looking at you. Okay.
Right.
Now you're not supervised. I'm still with you, but I'm looking over there, so you're not supervised. So if you were a puppy, you're chewing on a wire.
Oh yeah.
So
Yep.
if you guys are like eating dinner or cooking or reading the paper or something, the puppy's unsupervised. even though you may be in the same room as him.
Right.
Right. So, and the problem is people often feel bad for crating the puppy more often than not. But it's number one, it's safer for the puppy, so he doesn't get into trouble. It's better behaviorally, so he doesn't develop bad habits. And number two, when you are supervising him, you're there to say, hey, don't chew on that. And then we could present him something acceptable to chew on. Right. So we're redirecting him from inappropriate chewing and directing him onto something that is appropriate to chew.
Okay.
So supervise. You know, and I saw, you know, in the video, you have a little kitchen gate up. So if you are in the kitchen with him, you know, I mean, generally kitchens, as long as the cabinets are closed, there's really not a whole lot of trouble a puppy can get into except for chewing on chairs. But if you're in there, you'll hear it. So you can address it. You can catch him in the act. So the fact that you have the gate up, that's kind of an extension of the crate, which is good. So that's an option to give him a little more freedom if he does have to be supervised.
Okay.
All right.
Yep. What else? Where's your list? Come on, whip it out.
So I don't know if this is a corgi thing or not, but he's constantly like, I'm trying to teach him not to jump up, but he tends to like jump up and grab my son's shorts or his shirt, like if I'm wearing a robe, he grabs that.
Okay, so how about you, Dominic? Does he jump up on you?
Oh yeah, as soon as I come home. I mean,
Okay.
obviously he's excited to see me because I just came home, and the first thing he does is jump up on his hind legs and, you know, try and climb up me. So,
Okay.
you know, it's I don't know. He does need redirecting at that point.
Okay, so let's rewind. You've had him since he's what, 8 weeks old?
Yeah, about
Yeah.
that.
Okay,
It
so
begins November.
okay, so let's rewind 2 months. When he was jumping up on your shin, right? Because that's about how tall he was.
Yeah.
Did he get affection?
I probably picked him up.
You
I'm
don't
gonna
have
say-
to say probably. I know the answer.
I'm gonna say yeah.
Jumping, it's not always a learned behavior, but we do sometimes inadvertently reward it when they're young puppies, right? You know, and he's not going to be a huge dog, but you know, he's going to be big enough where jumping is a problem, and jumping is a physical escalation of behavior. Now, part of it could be excitement. The other part of it is that we may have inadvertently rewarded it. Okay, so there's a few options we can approach this with, but because of his age and the fact that he's a puppy, we're probably going to lean more towards the non-invasive approach, because we don't want to offer like harsh corrections or anything. Not that I would offer a harsh correction anyway, but I mean like a physical correction, like with the leash or anything. With him, because he's a puppy, it's early enough where we can just ignore it. Okay. Now, that's the jumping part. That's not the mouthing part. The jumping part, we ignore. And when I say ignore, we don't talk to him, we don't look at him, we don't talk to him, nothing. Okay. Now, do you have hardwood floors or carpet?
Laminate floors.
Okay. So when you walk in, it's laminate floor?
Yeah.
Okay. Because see, if it was carpet, I would tell you to just walk right through him. But because you have laminate floors, we can't do that because we don't want to hurt him, right? Because even though he has 4 legs, he could slip, right? And
Right.
he's still growing. We don't want to impact his growth plates or anything like that. So the best thing to do is just to ignore him. So Dominic, when you come home, he's excited to see Dad. You know, just walk in the door as matter of fact as possible. Don't look at him. Don't talk to him. Nothing. Okay. And here's the part where a lot of patience comes into play. Okay. Remember, part of his jumping has probably been rewarded. Part of it is probably just puppy excitement. So what we need to do is we need to make sure we walk in the door. We completely ignore him. Let his energy drop a little. When he stops jumping, then we can turn to him and address him. Give him a little sit command. Max, sit. And just, good boy, give him a light touch on the nose. And even if you have to force yourself to look through the mail or get a drink of water or eat a cracker, something to preoccupy yourself, so you're not, you know, you're not running the risk of, you know, I mean, you're happy to see him too, let's face it, right?
Right. Yep.
But we can't have that positive energy exchange if he's at a peak state of stimulation, even though the peak state is a happy state. Okay.
Right.
So that's the jumping part. Now the jumping and the mouthing, obviously they all come together. So robes, Slippers are very tough for puppies because they're fun as hell. Right? So there's a couple of, he's 5 months old, so I'm guessing he has just a couple of puppy teeth left then, right?
I'm not sure, but they hurt.
They're still sharp?
There's not like they were. I mean, we did find one tooth fell out. My
Okay.
daughter found one, but other than that, I don't know. So he should be almost done with the teething stage then?
Yeah, once the adult teeth are in, and there's usually a residual, like a week or so, where they're still uncomfortable, their gums are still inflamed, but the majority of the pain is behind us, which is good. But one thing about mouthing and chewing on, especially clothing attached to us, is usually elicits a response from the human, right? And usually it's, hey, get out of there, right?
Right.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Do I seem all that authoritative? Hey, get out of there, right?
Right.
No. Because I'm sure you use the word no. Every puppy owner uses no. You can say banana. It doesn't matter what comes out of your mouth. He needs to understand that that is not acceptable. Because especially with a herding breed, that mouthing behavior could intensify later on down the road. We need to address this now. We can be firm, stern, and let him know this shit ain't happening.
Okay.
You can't feel bad. Okay. Your relationship is already established. He loves you guys. You love him. The trust is established. He needs to understand this is not acceptable. You know, now how this works, right? Because we don't want to just be no, and that's it, right? We need to know, which I call a disconnect, right? We need to disconnect it from the behavior. So maybe you have to say no and clap your hand or something to startle him. Okay. This is the most important part of the equation, as in all likelihood that will work. You'll disconnect him for a split second. He'll be like, what the holy crap? As soon as he stops the behavior, good boy. This is going to sound a little goofy, and I've gotten criticized from other dog trainers because I'm very much into the spiritual aspect of the dog-human relationship. Your facial expressions say a lot, and dogs do read our facial expressions. There is that energy exchange. So you need to make sure you're going from no or off. Good boy. Not too exuberant, right? We don't want too gratuitous of praise, because if we're too gratuitous, as you probably have learned already, he just gets more excited. Right? So we have to make sure our praise is in contrast with our correction, our verbal cue of no or off or whatever, followed by the good behavior, immediate praise. Okay.
All right.
Now, you got to make sure you, at minimum, you are ignoring his physical escalations of jumping and stuff. Okay. Because if you're trying to correct this, but you're still inadvertently rewarding it, right? You can't put a fire out with gasoline, can you?
No.
Right? It's just going to get bigger and better and more intense. Same thing with behavior. Okay. So when in doubt, at minimum, ignore unwanted behavior, reward desired behavior. More importantly, desired state of mind. Okay. So like when you come home, he's at a level 10 because dad's home. Dominic walks in the door. Max is spiking. We ignore him. So let's say Max is at a level 10 when you walk in the door, Dominic. If we can get him to like a level 8 of excitement, where he's still happy but not out of the box happy, right? And then he stopped jumping, but he's still a little excited. You know, good boy. We can say hello to him calmly. And the repetition of that, what happens is that level 8 that you're rewarding, that becomes his new 10. So he's still spiking, but not as high. And then you shoot for level 7 and then level 6 and so on. Okay.
All right.
Most people get to like 6.5, 7, as long as the dog's not jumping, but he's excited. They kind of compromise and be like, that's good enough. Right. But the more you ignore his imbalanced state of mind, because even though it's happy, that spike is imbalanced. So we ignore unwanted behavior. We reward wanted behavior and wanted states of mind.
All right.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and then if the mouthing and the jumping persists, just shoot me a message. But you got to try the ignoring first. My first line of defense with behavior is number 1, to always ignore it. That usually gets it under control to where we could take the next step. But just given his age and the fact that he's a puppy, that's kind of where I'm at comfort-wise as far as correcting him, because ignoring him is technically a correction.
Okay.
All right.
His mouthing was a lot worse when we first got him. He would be biting at our heels and all, and I don't see him doing that
No, he's
too
not
much.
doing that
He's
now.
not doing that right now.
Yeah, that's
So-
teething. That's just teething.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, that's teething. That's pain. Yeah. So that when it starts to subside and you guys really didn't do anything different, then you know for sure that it was just a byproduct of teething.
Well, I would tell him no. I would yell to him no, and then no, and I would tell him no biting, and then so he stopped doing it to me first.
Oh, good.
He's not doing it to you either.
Nope.
I think he still gets Nicholas a little bit though.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
How old is your son?
19.
Okay, so maybe show Nicholas a copy of this recording too, so he knows what to do.
Okay.
He might. I'm not. Teenagers and parents sometimes they don't take direction that well. But
Yeah, right. Need
Well-
to redirect him too.
Yeah, let's show both of them the video. So
yeah,
that would
and just let them know that it's okay for them to be assertive, not over the top assertive, but just so Max knows, they no more. And then
Right.
on the other side of that, good boy.
okay.
Because he needs to understand what's not acceptable, and he needs the reassurance when he does something good.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yep.
Why don't you ask him about this?
Which one?
This one.
Oh, all right. So when we brought him to the vet, I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this, but when we brought him to the vet the last time, they said that only one testicle dropped and the other one hasn't dropped yet. Is that a problem?
So it can be. Generally, they'll wait a little while, especially he's not a large breed dog. If he was a large breed dog and he was 5 months and it didn't drop yet, they might be talking about surgery to remove it. They might. I'm guessing the vet asked you to wait a little longer, that it might drop.
Yeah, he went at his 3 month and he went at his 4 month. So he's all done with his shots. But they said, okay, wait until he's about, I think, 8 months, and then they'll check him again. And then they did mention if it didn't drop then, they would do surgery and then fix him
Yeah.
at the same time, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, that's usually what happens. So yeah, I mean, just it's not uncommon. It does happen. So
Sorry, phone was ringing.
No, that's okay. Yeah, it's not uncommon. It happens. So yeah, just keep an eye on it. And
Should it have dropped at this point though?
yeah, but it doesn't mean it won't.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that was at his 4 month. So that was like a month ago. So
Right.
I haven't had him checked.
Okay. And the vet told you got to tickle his balls, right?
No, that's not my job.
I'm just kidding.
He's so small, you can't even see them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously keep an eye on it. It may drop, but if he's going in another couple of months, that you can make that decision at that time. So, but as long as you don't see any excessive licking in that area where it's potentially causing discomfort, but just keep your vet up to date. So.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, no, he's just been chasing his tail, which he doesn't have much of a tail, but he did grab it this morning.
Yeah, that's also common for puppies. Now, tail chasing is also a sign of potential parasites. It's a sign of boredom, pent up energy, frustration, things like that. So if you notice that the tail spinning is increasing, then he's telling you he's missing something in his life.
Okay.
So usually it's more stimulation, and your problem, corgis require just as much, if not more, mental stimulation than physical stimulation. So you might want to get him some puzzle games or something where he has to find treats. Like they have these things on Amazon or whatever.
He's got a treat ball, right?
Yeah, he does have a treat ball.
Treat
And
ball.
it was missing for like a month, but now I just found it last night.
Okay. And do you have what a Kong is?
Yep.
No, we don't have any Kong.
I don't have any.
Kong.
I know what it is.
Yeah, it's this thing. So definitely get a Kong. You could kind of, I wouldn't say a lot of peanut butter, but take like and this is a big one, but get one for his size. Take a
Okay.
little peanut butter and just kind of lace the inside of it. Toss a couple of treats in there that might stick to the side of the wall. Give it to
Okay.
him, so he has to work it out a little bit.
Okay.
And although that's not very mentally stimulating, it's mentally stimulating enough, especially if he's tail chasing. That would be a good opportunity. Now remember, we don't want to correct tail chasing, because remember, he's telling us something. So we don't want to correct something. He's saying, oh, I'm bored or whatever, right?
Right.
So we want to get his attention. Max, come here, buddy. Sit, good boy. And then give him the Kong, right? Because again, we want to correct him for that behavior, but we want to redirect him out to something that's going to stimulate him a little.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Okay, that's good.
How about the cats?
Yeah, so the reason why I sent you that video
Yeah, I saw the cat.
was because the cat was on the other side of the gate and he just goes ballistic and I wasn't sure. So now if the cat gets in the kitchen, he will pin the cat down and the one cat will actually flip him over,
Okay.
but the other two will not. And then the one just like looks at me like help, and then the other one just hides. So we have 3 cats.
Okay.
So I was just afraid. I don't want him to be aggressive towards them. But what you saw in that video was about 50% of what we saw about a month or 2 ago. So he
was more intense a month ago.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, it didn't look bad to me, the video you sent me. He looked like a pretty curious puppy that wanted to get over there to them. So you know, if they're getting along, but the optics that we see is uneasy because the one cat is not fighting back, so to speak. As long as he's not hurting the cat or the cat's not hurting him. Hurt, H-U-R-T, not H-E-R-D.
Right.
So yeah, that's something where you want to kind of almost allow the relationship to develop. The one that's hiding, don't force it.
Right.
Right.
You know,
Right.
if the cat wants to hide, the cat wants to hide. So he needs, if he's seeking that cat out, then we need to intervene and let him know, you know, because, you know, the cats are ignoring him for the same reason why I told you to ignore jumping, right? They want no part of it. The other one that's working, that's you know, handling him, that'll be a good relationship. Something to keep an eye on though, because as the puppy gets older and a little more confident, they could certainly scuffle. But the one that he's flipping over, the other cat that he's bullying, so to speak, you know, is the cat in distress or just fidgety?
I wouldn't say in distress. He's not in distress.
I usually will go over and rescue him.
Okay. Curious,
So
but he doesn't like run away.
it's like the cat panics and he just freezes.
Yeah.
And then the puppy's on top of him trying to like bite him. But I don't know if it was the way he was playing with the other puppies that he's trying to do with the cat, or if it's an aggression. But his tail is wagging. So if his tail's wagging, is that an aggression? Do they?
Well, tail wagging, there's a lot to it. It's not just the tail wagging. It's the position of the tail, the speed of the tail, the direction of the wag, anything that happens before the play ensues. But now, is this happening inside the gate?
Yeah.
So when the cat comes into the kitchen, which he has not come really in here anymore, but when he would come into the kitchen, he would just try and walk across the floor, and then Max would just charge at him, and he'd get him underneath.
Okay.
And Max would be on top of him.
Right. Yeah. So that's probably just puppy play. You know, usually with cats and herding dogs, we have the opposite thing where we got to be careful that the dog isn't hurting the cat, and then, you know, the cat's kicking the dog with its back claws extended and the dog is getting eye surgery. The thing is, from one of my rules in our home, and what I share with all of my clients, is I don't like a lot of intense play inside the house. Now this is for people who have a yard or can bring their dogs somewhere for intense play. But, you know, I have a yard. Do you have a yard?
Well, We have a yard, but we were building our deck before the cold weather came.
Okay.
So my gate is not up. So we had
Okay.
to take the gate down. So he does not have access to run around the yard yet. We're hoping in a couple of months to finish the project, and then
He will by the
we'll
summer.
have
Okay.
the gate.
Right.
But
So yeah, it's nothing crazy. I just, inside. Now, does he eat in the kitchen?
the dog,
Yeah.
the dog eats in the kitchen.
Okay.
We
So
have yeah, go ahead.
so the kitchen should be the kitchen is not for play then. That's your rule. Because I'm
Okay.
guessing you allow him in other areas of the house, right?
We haven't yet.
We really haven't.
We just started
Good.
in the living room to him.
Okay.
Breathing.
Because he starts, when he's in the living room, he starts just going crazy and just grabbing everything. And
Yeah. All the cat toys are now his.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's, part of that is puppyhood. Part of it is, even though he's 5 months old, I mean, he could probably use a good run, So, I mean, you might want to, while you're finishing the project, you might want to run to the pet store or something and get like a 40 or 50-foot training leash.
Okay.
This way you can take him out in the yard, let him run around a little bit, get a good sprint going here and there. That'll help take some of the edge off, but if the kitchen is his everyday place, I would say, intervene before it gets to the point where he actually makes contact with the cat. This way he understands that we're not doing this in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Right. Because fast forward, a year from now, he's going to have full range of the house. He'll be all over the place. There's going to be plenty of time for him and the cats to play with each other. The main thing is that the one cat that is confident, as long as they're still interacting and that's a good, successful interaction, that will have positive residual effects with the other two as well. And even the one that's hiding at some point will probably start to come out.
So when he was in his crate this morning, I saw the one that's hiding. He came out. He was waiting for his food. I feed the cats in the living room now. And he sat right in front of the crate. Max was going crazy, barking and like lunging at the front of the crate. But that cat sat right in front of his crate and just sat there and didn't move. So that was big progress for that cat to be able to do that.
Yeah.
He was a feral cat that we rescued.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had a lot of issues in the house with him, but I thought that was a big step for him to be able to. Now, is that good, like for introducing them? So
yeah, Max is a puppy. He's going to be in the crate, and he's got to deal with everything else that's going on outside the crate. So the fact that the cat didn't run away, and this is where, dogs and cats obviously are two different species, but they learn to communicate very quickly. And the cat knows nothing's happening, right? Just like the gate. If the passive cat is on the one side of the gate and Max is on the other side of the gate, it's not like the cat's going to run away. He doesn't have to.
Right.
But the fact that he did stay there and maintain his position, yeah, that's good. Especially it also taught Max that his barking isn't going to produce any results anyway. So.
okay.
Yep.
So Max's crate is actually very large. It was my husky's crate that I used to use in the car.
Okay.
But he doesn't go to the bathroom in it at all.
Good.
But it is like Max only takes about a quarter of the crate. It's a pretty nice size crate.
Good.
So I don't feel as guilty putting him in there for an extended period of time, because like at least I know he can move around and he can still play in there a little bit.
Yeah, once the crate training is established, meaning that the dog no longer pees and poops in the crate, right? Once that's established, the bigger the crate that you could fit, the biggest crate you could fit in your home is the better, because for that very reason, it gives him more room. As long as he's not soiling, then yeah, bigger is always better.
He actually never soiled his crate,
Yeah,
even when he was at the breeder. The breeder would say, yeah, he was really good. He would hold it all night, even before we got him.
Oh, good.
So,
He does really well with that.
Good. Awesome. And do you know how many times a day does he eat?
So we feed him about a half a cup of food in the morning. And then my daughter gives him like one scoop in the middle of the day. And then I give him moist food at night. So he gets about 3 meals out of one can, 3 to 4 meals out of one can.
Okay.
So I'm trying not to overfeed him.
Right now it's 3.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So now do you feed, where do you feed him? In the kitchen?
He
Yeah.
eats in the kitchen.
Yep.
Okay, feed him at least one of his meals in the crate.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, continue to do that. Yep, it'll just help keeping the crate a positive association. The soiling is not an issue, but feeding him in there will help make sure that continues to solidify. So, but yeah, and you don't have to close the gate, the door to the crate. You can put the bowl in there, let him let him eat, and then he can walk right back out.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, why would I feed him in the crate? I don't get that.
It's part of crate training. It also helps keep a positive association with the crate.
Okay.
Yeah, like the crate's not a penalty. It's not
Right.
a penalty.
Yeah.
Well, what I've been doing is I never could get him to go in the crate by himself, and now I hold his treats, and I used to throw them in there, and he would go in there and get them. And now I can tell him, Max, go in your crate, and if I'm holding the food, I'm right outside the crate door. He'll go in there now and lay down, and then I can give him his treats.
Perfect. Yep. Good. So, all right. So now that there was a little resistance early on,
Mhm.
giving him one of his meals in there will also help perpetuate what you just described. Right.
Okay.
It's not just treats. Now he's getting his most valuable resource, food, in his crate. But the door's not closing. So it's not,
Right.
because think about when he goes in the crate, what happens? The door closes. So now he's going in the crate, he's eating, but he comes right out on his own. So again, it's more about positive association than anything else at this point.
All right.
Okay.
Yep.
What else you got on the list?
He plays in his water,
Oh,
and his his food dish is on the it's in one of those things, but it's on the floor. So I didn't know if you recommended any of the raised ones for him.
Yeah, you
Well, it's
could, but he's a corgi. How much raise can you get?
I know.
You know? Yeah. Is it just a messy thing or?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
It's-
so
everything's soaking wet. Yep.
yeah, so they have the water capture, the water catching mats specifically for dogs. So
oh,
yeah, that you actually put their water bowl on it. I have one here, but for the opposite reason, because my dogs are slobs. So because they'll drink, and so I have like a big oversized water mat, and their bowl is pushed all the way to the corner, like in my kitchen. Because when they drink, they'll drool, and by the time they get to the edge of the mat, most of the water is on the mat. But yeah, they actually have water retaining mats for dogs for dog bowls.
oh, okay.
All right.
It doesn't catch it all, but you are going to see a considerable decrease in slop if you get one of those.
Because I started taking his water bowl away, and then I would give it back to him to drink, and then I would take it away again.
You could, controlling water intake is certainly fine. You can also add a little water to his food to increase his hydration if you were putting him on a structured water schedule.
Okay.
I mean, if that's okay, there's nothing wrong with that. It would be a pain in the ass for me, so I just got the water mat.
Yeah, it is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I got
less though since I started taking it away. So for the last day and a half, he's had it down, not with a lot of water in it, but I haven't seen him do it in like 2 days. So maybe
What kind of bowl are you using?
it's a metal round bowl, and
Is
it's got it sits inside, one of those. It's like a food bowl and a water bowl together. And
inside like the stainless steel trays?
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, so what also may help is getting him a stainless steel no-tip bowl.
Okay.
Do you know what they are?
I think so. Yeah.
Let me, you know what? Hold on one sec. Give me a second. Give me 2 seconds here. Can you see that on your end?
Yep.
Small.
It's
What is
small, but yeah, we could see.
All right, hold on. It's still loading on my end because I got the video going here, but it should.
We're using my phone, so it's
Oh, okay. No problem. All right. Yeah. So let me try to enlarge.
okay.
So they can't tip it. It doesn't mean that he's not going to throw his paws in there, but with the thing that you're using, it shakes a lot. This won't shake as much.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's got a rubber bottom on it. So
It's got the rubber bottom, and so it's
well, that'll help a little.
yeah, between that and the if you get the water mat, I think those two, that'll decrease your your mess, if you will, considerably. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, there's nothing wrong with controlling his water intake, but that's a pain in the ass.
It is. So I try to give him very little. So if he does start to play in it, at least it's not too bad. But he's
Right.
always sopping wet, and then yeah. And we really thought it was cute the first time when we brought him home, and he did. Like,
I'm sure.
It's not cute anymore.
It got old real quick.
Yeah, and you know what he learned early on? Oh, mom and dad like this.
We were videoing him and everything, and I'm like, yeah, now I'm done.
That's funny.
So I think that's it, right? What else you got? We covered the chewing. We covered the sit and stay. The water bowl. Barking at the cats.
Yeah, I think we covered all my notes.
Well, that's it for the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so the only other thing is, whatever training you're doing inside the house, the rule of thumb with puppies is when you're teaching obedience, you have to introduce time, distance, and distractions, right? So with, time, distance, and distractions, usually in a case of a puppy, for instance, if you're just doing sits and downs or whatever, you got to work him inside the house, out in the front, out in the back, on walks, everywhere. Okay. So the objective is in order to get a truly reliably behaved dog, we need to work them in an assortment of different environments. So kind of like what we talked about earlier, like on the walks, we might have to increase the food value. Well, that's not isolated just to walks. It's any new environment that you're with him in is an opportunity to work with him.
Okay.
So what kind of food is good besides hot dogs?
Any kind of jerky treat, meat-based treats are good. Dried liver treats are good. But I mean, if you use hot dogs, if you get 100% beef, make sure they're low sodium. You're chopping them up into little tiny pieces. You don't have to cook them either. You just throw them in like a little snack baggie, Ziploc or something, and take them with you. So you don't smell like hot dogs. Oh, good. Then they'll start jumping up and going for your pocket.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure.
And then, because if you're working him all the time, like think about it, every opportunity is an opportunity to work, right? Every environment is an opportunity to work. So, and then the next biggest thing, which, fortunately it's not last year. Last year at this time, puppy owners were in a jam because shit was closing down because of the virus, right? Mm-hmm. At least now, things are relatively opened up. You got to get that puppy to Home Depot, bring him to pet stores, socialize.
Okay.
All right.
And look at it this way. When you're socializing a puppy, every place you take him to, that doesn't mean that he's fully socialized. That means he's socialized in the places you took him. Right?
Okay.
So try to expose him to as many different places and situations as possible.
Okay.
All right.
So, but anything else?
No, I think we're okay. My biggest concern was just the aggression with the cats.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like aggression, especially because the one cat is beating the shit out of him. So.
Right?
Yeah.
She used to beat the shit out of my husky too. So.
Yeah, I think it's just a pecking order in your house. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because dogs and cats, it's not so much cats, but dogs. They're social animals, so they're gonna find out where they fit in. So he's finding out who he can get away with stuff with, and the passive cat happens to be one of them. Where the assertive cat, he's not winning that battle. So.
Right.
So it's probably just
the other two cats too. So she'll just all of a sudden they'll be laying nice, and all of a sudden she'll turn around and whack one of them, and he just looks at him like, what did I do? Anything to her.
Yeah, just, I mean, I don't want to minimize how their relationships are developing. Obviously, keep an eye on it, but try not to, I don't even know if this is a proper word, over intervene. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to kind of let it play out a little bit while you're observing the interactions. You know, and if you have a certain threshold that you're uncomfortable with of Max going after the passive cat, you know, as long as you're intervening at the same threshold, you're setting that threshold Max is going to pick up on. He's going to understand what's acceptable and what isn't.
Okay.
And then
Yeah,
the other one, I would say, just let the cat keep beating the crap out of him. It's probably good to keep Max in his place.
Yeah.
So, but
Okay. Great.
anything else?
No,
No, I think
I think we're good for now.
we're good.